Today on the patio, we're doing a Sicilian style pizza. We're gonna do it on the Yoder wood-fired oven. It's gonna be delicious. Let's get into it. What's up, barbecue fans? My name is Jake, and today we're not doing barbecue, we're doing Sicilian style pizza. Now, Sicilian style pizza is one of those things that I've been wanting to do for a few months. Been doing a little research. I've never done it before. And for those of you who are new here, first off, welcome. But on my channel, I try new things for the first time frequently, and if I make a mistake, I make a mistake. I'm happy to share it. Mistakes are life's greatest teacher, and for me, I don't want to show you a perfect barbecue or whatever. I want to show you a real life barbecue, and when I make a mistake, at least I can learn something from it and I can share it with you in real time. Today we're doing that with pizza. Now, this recipe here is one from the Gossi channel. There's a guy named Mike Fitzik, I think is how you say it. He's from New Jersey. He's got a pizza place there, and his pies look phenomenal. So I did steal his recipe. Unfortunately, I don't have any footage because I made a super critical mistake in that video, and I will link it below so you can follow the process. But it uses compressed yeast, baker's yeast. That's like blocks of fresh yeast. We typically at home will use instant dry yeast or active dry yeast, and the difference is that when you use that fresh compressed yeast, you're going to use for this particular recipe 17 grams of it. If you're going to use active yeast, you only use about 7 grams. So what happened here is I made this recipe and I started with 2 liters or no, I started with 3 liters, and it doubled in size in an hour. And this was sitting in the fridge for 36 hours so far. It's already almost overloaded as it is, but the way it was doubling, I knew I had made a mistake. So I figured out what it was. I converted it back to the proper amount of yeast, and then I threw that in my garbage. And my wife was having bad dreams. She's gonna wake up and there's gonna be dough all over the kitchen. But I'll tell you what, like, it filled up my garbage can like this much. It expanded so much. So it was kind of funny. Learned something. Got to pay attention to details. So when you watch that video, make sure you use instant or active dry yeast. There's lots of conversions out there. Just Google it, right? So we've got this. You're gonna want to have one of these containers. This dough actually started at 2 liters or 2 quarts and has tripled in size in 36 hours in the fridge. Lots of you have been asking me, hey Jake, when are you gonna put out the things you've learned about pizza video? I am gonna do that at the end of March or mid-April, right? What I'm trying to do here is trying to wait for the time to go ahead, weather to get a little bit warmer, because that video, whether it's 10 or probably about 20 minutes or so, is going to take an entire day to film, because I want to show you a couple different dough recipes. I also want to show you my wood-fired oven, the Yoder wood-fired oven, and the Kamado Joe, so that no matter what you're using, it will apply to you. So be patient, subscribe if that interests you below, and that'll come out here sometime soon. So with this video, as I said, I don't have any B-roll of me making this, but that video that I'll link below will give you everything you need. Let's get this open here. Man, that smells good. The one thing I want to show you real quick before we get into that is this guy here, all right? I'll talk more about this in my pizza video. This thing weighs a ton. But if you're gonna make a dough like this, you need a mixer like this, right? The difference is here, this is what we call a spiral mixer. And I'll show you just super quick, right? So we have a bar here, and we have this that rotates around to mix the dough, and your container spins as well. And what happens there is you can do a much higher hydration dough, meaning the percentage of water relative to the amount of flour. This dough, you could not mix by hand. It's too wet and messy. You'd be pulling your hair out and you never get it fully integrated because it's so moist. If you want to do it in a KitchenAid mixer type mixer with a dough hook, you could do it. This took about took 7 minutes to mix the first one, and then when I started to add the rest of the stuff, it took another 10 or 12 minutes. On a KitchenAid mixer, I mean, it's probably gonna take like 25 minutes to get it all integrated. Just wanted to show you that real quick. In my pizza video, I'll give you more information about that, but basically it makes a way better dough. The temperature doesn't rise. It makes a smoother dough and far better gluten. Gluten's really important when you make dough. The reason why we do a high hydration dough is because we want it to be airy inside and soft. The more water, as the pizza comes up to temperature, that water evaporates in the high heat and leaves you that airy pocket. What is a Sicilian pizza? So Sicilian pizza is similar to what like a grandma's pie or maybe a Detroit style pizza, but there are some very important differences. Detroit style pizza, we put into a higher walled container, and actually I should probably get one. Let me show you what it looks like. So here is a Detroit style pan. All these pans are from Lloyd's Pans. You can get them on Amazon. They're one of the leaders in pizza pans. If you really want to get into pizza, this is the stuff you need. But you can see it has a much higher wall than something like that, right? Detroit pizza is a thick pizza. We put a lot of cheese on it. The cheese comes down the edges and you get kind of some burnt cheese all around it. So you've got some crispiness, but it's an airy pizza. A grandmother's pie is usually made in a cookie sheet or something like this. It's a little thinner and it's crispier. So you tend to put your toppings on it right away and it ends up to be about the same size as a traditional pie as far as thickness, but it's more crispy. Sicilian pizza has a crunchy bottom, a crunchy top, but is very airy, and it's about as thick as a Detroit style pizza. Just to kind of give you a reference, it is very different mouth feel, and what you do with the Sicilian pizza is you par break it. So you get a very crispy crust, and then you get some crispiness on top, and then you put your cheese and sauce on it. So there's kind of a little bit of background here. We are going to use these, and to give you an idea, I hate when people don't give you the sizes of things. It's very hard to figure out the dough. So this is a 12 by 16, right? So this is gonna make about 6 pieces. I also have, this is like a flatbread one, which will make 2 pieces. And then this is a half cookie sheet, which would make about 4, right? So this guy is 12.5 by 8.5 roughly, right? So this will make, I can make 4 smaller pieces, right? But get yourself some of these pans, they're super helpful. What we're gonna do here is today, we're gonna use this one. And the first thing we're gonna do is we're going to put a little bit of oil on there. You're gonna want a scale. You're gonna want a scale regardless, because you're gonna want to weigh your ingredients. If you're using cups of flour, you're gonna get a very different result than if you actually measure it out. So for this, we're looking for, put a 400 gram ball. And this just came out of the fridge. Okay, so it's a little bit. 465, let's see, move this around a little bit. So this dough is still cold, okay, because it has to rise again. So speaking of mistakes, I realized that I don't want that much oil because this will never ever stretch out properly. It'll just slide on the oil. So I'm just wiping some of that up. You do want a little bit of oil there. But what we're gonna do here is we're gonna stretch this out. And because it's still cold, it's gonna kind of stretch back in. We gotta let this gluten relax a little bit. So what we're gonna do is, we're gonna cover this up for about 15 minutes. We'll get some saran wrap here. And what we'll do here is we'll just wrap this up real quick. Now what we're gonna do is we're gonna let this rest for about 15 minutes and then we'll come out and we'll stretch it again. So off camera I had to do a little bit of experimentation because when I was looking at the amount of dough here, this is 400 grams in the smaller one and it's not stretched out yet. There's no way I'm gonna get Sicilian thickness in a pan that size with 400 grams of dough. So what I did is I moved it over to the other one, and what we're gonna do is we're gonna take 800 grams for this guy. What I'm trying to do here is I'm trying to cut almost rectangular so that I can easily flatten it out. All right, what we got here? 840. I'm gonna leave it as it is. I've already got a little bit of oil there. Here we go. Yeah, it'll be much better. I told you guys I'm not afraid to make mistakes on camera. I just didn't expect it to be right off the bat. And for those of you wondering, I'm actually going to film another video for doing this on the Komodo Joe, just to give you an idea of the differences. And we'll take some plastic wrap here. And we're gonna let this sit for a good 15 minutes and then we'll give it another stretch. All right, so it's been just over 2 hours, probably about 2 hours and 15 minutes or so. Our dough has nicely risen. There's definitely a couple little thin spots in there, but basically what we did here is put it on there, waited 15 minutes, stretched it out, waited 15 minutes, stretched it out again. I ended up stretching it about 3 times, and then I was able to get it out to the ends here. And then I waited about 30 minutes and it pulled back a little bit. I just pushed it back in the ends one more time. And then I let it go for about 30 minutes. That gave us a total of an hour and a half. And then what I did is I went out, put together the Yoder, put in the wood-fired oven. We put in some Bear Mountain hickory pellets. That's what I had open. So I dumped some of those in there and then we fired up the Yoder. So here's my logic here. We got up to 550. It's windy. I mean, the wind is just increased. We're probably up to about 45 mile an hour gust right now. So once it got to 550, what I did is we don't want a ton of top-down heat, right? What we want to do is you want to knock down that flame and just cook this, but have some radiating heat come down. So what I did is I let it get up to 550. It was there for a good 15 minutes. I know it's nice and heat soaked, and then I just turned it down to 300. I waited 2 minutes. The Yoder checks temperatures, works on a moving average every 2 minutes, right? So after 2 minutes, it's gonna start to see that the temperature is higher than we want it. So it's gonna start to slow down. And we need some time for those pellets to burn out. So it's gonna slow down, not put as many pellets in there, but I need some time for those to burn out. So what we're gonna do now is we're gonna put just a little drizzle of this to help the top, and we're par baking this, right? This is the secret of a Sicilian. You can see, I don't know if it'll come across on camera, but it's raised up pretty good. Now what we're gonna do is we're gonna throw this on the Yoder for 5 minutes. So here we are. One thing, we had to make a quick change on this. So what happened was I'd set it down to 300. I didn't take into consideration how windy it was, and it cooled down pretty quick. So I let it go about 7 minutes, and we got the bottom the way we wanted it to. Right, pretty good there. But the problem is that the top was not toasted at all. And you really want a little bit of browning on top. So what I did is I just brushed some olive oil over top of it, and I brought it out, and I let the Yoder get back up to 575, and I put it in for 1.5 minutes. And this is how I got this. So the only thing that happened here is we got a little dark on this edge, but we're gonna be fine. This now has to cool off. Our Yoder is going to stay at 600. We got to get on to the next steps. So I'm always talking to you guys about the importance of fresh grated mozzarella. If you buy the pre-shredded stuff, it's got any caking agents in it and it doesn't melt the same. I don't do it by hand. Meet my little friend here. This is the salad shooter. Now, depending on how old you are, you may recognize this. This is a newer version of it, but this came out in the 90s. You can buy them on Amazon for like 25 bucks or something like that. This is my second one. I bought one when they first came out, but it's great because you can put a little, you can change the wheels. You can do slicing, or you can do a little wheel like this to grate some cheese, but it works great. And it does save a lot of time. So we'll cut this in half here. And just like that, we got 1 pound of cheese shredded side tip. If you use the exact same attachment with the potato, you can make yourself some banging hash browns. Sauce. Showed you guys this before, we'll do it on camera one more time, but this is just some organic San Marzano peeled tomatoes. Diamond Crystal kosher salt. Maybe a tablespoon. Okay, your pepper cannon. 3/4 tablespoon of salt. Some basil. A couple of those. Drizzle of olive oil. High pulse. Fresh sauce. Just like that. Still a little chunky. If you want it slightly smoother, you can blitz it 1 or 2 more times, but don't go crazy with it. It's really not that chunky at this point. Now our guy is pretty cooled off. Very important to let this cool off on a cooling rack, right? We want to let this cool, but not sit in this pan, because what'll happen is it'll get soggy. We'll get rid of that crispiness that we work so hard for. And now we start to put this together. So in this particular case, we're gonna use some sliced mozzarella on the bottom. You could use fresh mozzarella. I'm using part skim and sliced mozzarella because I don't like the rubbery that you're gonna get from fresh mozzarella if you're not gonna eat it that quickly, right? If you're tearing into it right away, no problem. This is a lot of pizza for me, so I'm gonna have a slice here. I'm probably gonna have another one later, and I just think this will reheat a little bit better. All right. And this, much like a Detroit style pizza, is one where the sauce is gonna go on top. And our goal really here is that every single piece is gonna have a little bit of sauce on it. And last but not least, we'll take some aged aged Parmesan, and put a nice little coating. It's one way to lose a knuckle. Some margherita pizza. I forgot some basil on here. Now what we're gonna do is we are going to grab our phone here, and I'm gonna turn down my Yoder. So we're at 596 on this guy. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna set this down to 475. Well, 500 will be fine. What we're gonna do is I'm gonna wait about 1.5 minutes, and then I'm gonna throw this on for about 5 minutes, and that should be enough to finish it. You're not gonna believe this, but there's no snow in the forecast. It's like 44, but there's huge flakes of snow right now, and it is windy as shit. There's no other way to say it. This has gotta go out there, on there now. We don't have time. Lots of basil. Wow, that was unexpected. I went out there and even the wind blew my basil off. Let's get this out of here. That, my friends, is a Sicilian pie. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna let this sit for a little bit. It's gonna have to cool off for about 10 minutes, and then we'll cut into it. Been about 6 minutes. I can't wait any longer. I am starving. So we're gonna pull this guy right off. Here we go. Get that out of the way. Now the one thing I'll say is that the bottom definitely got a little bit more toasty than I would like, mainly because we cooked it longer than I was supposed to, experimenting with trying to get that browning on the top. But, I mean, for a first attempt, I think it looks pretty damn good myself. So, let's give ourselves a good, I think it's crunchy. Well, this piece looks nice. So yeah, we are a little darker than I would like, but really not too bad now that I'm seeing it. But check out the crust. Lots of air inside there. Wow. Hang on a second. I had high hopes, but this is so far beyond what I expected. I mean, the crust is phenomenal, and I mean, it just turned out absolutely perfect. Now all I gotta do is I gotta make another video with some tweaks to help you guys that own the Yoder wood-fired oven, so we get it a little bit more perfect, and show you how we made this dough, because you're gonna wanna learn how to make this from scratch. This is gonna wow lots of people in your house. Super excited about how this turned out. I mean, I don't even know what to say. I just want to eat it. So Hopefully you got some value out of this video. If you did, give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe while you're down there. Easy for me to say. Thanks as always for watching. I'll see you soon.